Sometimes life just reminds us to pause, not with a gentle whisper, but with a full stop. This past week, I found myself in hospital for a small operation and then not long after, sitting beside my daughter in the emergency department. Luckily, nothing life-threatening for the both of us, but still the kind of moments that shake your rhythm and leave you tender. Today, I'm back at my craft table, rebuilding that rhythm one small piece of paper at a time. I will tell you more about those days, and at the end I have something special to share, an announcement about our very first live stream next week, where we will gather and collage together. But first, let's start here, with paper, glue and the gentle act of returning home to ourselves. When I sat down to make today's page, I didn't have a plan. I reached for what was nearby. This small piece left over from an old masterboard, the remaining cuts from our free printable October junk journal planner kit, and I also found a small piece of tea-dyed cheesecloth and a few little leaves from my last alcohol ink project. These are the scraps of other stories, and somehow that feels right for today. Healing rarely begins from something new, but grows from what remains. What I'm really craving right now is a sense of continuity. To see that even after disruption, there's still a thread that connects who I was before, during, and after. I also have some of the leftover pieces from the last video, from the other printable, from the extra bonus one. And I'm deciding to use this one to create a form of journaling card that I can fold out. Coming back to my craft room can reconnect me with a sense of flow and movement through these small actions that don't demand too much of me, but give a lot back. I can also reconnect with myself, can pick myself up by remembering where I have been before and where I am right now. When I layer paper, I'm also layering the different parts of myself. The practical one, the creative one, the caregiver that sits in the hospital, and the part that's simply human and really tired today. And as I layer, I settle. Something deeply can breathe inside myself. I'm picking up little bits and pieces. I don't need to produce or anything or be purposeful. I just need to be here, allowing myself to feel connected again, piece by piece. This week really slowed me down in ways I didn't expect. The operation itself was small, but the recovery from the anesthesia really took a while. And just as I started to pick myself up again, my daughter had her own health scare. There's a particular kind of exhaustion that follows night and days like that, not just in the body, but in the in-between spaces. I moved through my day, but part of me is still at that bedside, alert and waiting. So today, I'm not trying to bounce back, I'm simply trying to return. When I sit down here, surrounded by scraps of paper, there's a kind of remembering that happens. My hands know where to begin, before my mind even can comprehend what I'm doing. And in that quiet, I can almost feel my internal system, the different parts of me that have been scattered, start to gather again. There's the part that was afraid, the part that was tired, the part that tried to hold it all together. And then softly, the part that just wants to breathe comes back again. Crafting doesn't silence them. It lets them speak in color, in textures, instead of words. And that's often enough for me. I wish I could say that rest comes easily to me. But even after a week that clearly demanded it, I can still feel this familiar tug, the impulse to do more, to make up for the lost time. It's almost comical how quickly that voice shows up. One moment I'm breathing deeply, telling myself to go slow, and the next another part of me starts listing tasks, mentally organizing what needs catching up. It's really like two people talking at once inside of me. One whispers, "Slow down, you are allowed to rest," and the other insists, "You are falling behind, Kajana, you need to do something." Over the years, I have learned to recognize these different voices not as noise or failure, but as parts of me, inner characters that each believe they are helping. The part that wants me to get moving again often carries a deep fear that if I slow down too long, I lose momentum or purpose or maybe even my sense of identity. And the part that resists, the one that sighs and says, "Please, no more," that one carries tenderness. It's protecting what feels really fragile, trying to make sure I don't break under this pressure. I understand that neither of them is wrong. They both just want me to be safe. So instead of pushing one away, I invite them both to the table. I imagine them sitting beside me as I craft, one foot tapping impatiently and the other curled up with a blanket needing warmth. And I let the page hold the both of them. When I glue something down, it's not just a decorative act, it's a conversation. When I smooth a wrinkle here in the paper or I line it up, it is as if I'm saying, you can both exhale now. You can both have a space here. There's enough room for the both of you. Crafting gives me like a physical language for what therapy often talks about in words. It's embodied self-dialogue, like motion, pausing, texture, breathing, enough movement to feel alive, but not enough to feel overwhelmed. So, as I start arranging the pieces, I notice how each element seems to carry its own story. The torn edges, the soft cheesecloth, the sturdy paper, they don't compete, they just exist together, waiting for a place to belong. And so my hands move slowly, they follow the texture more than thought, and somewhere in that rhythm, I realize that the page itself is showing me what balance really looks like. The soft cheesecloth catches against the firm edge of the card, just like my parts catch against each other. And then, with a bit of glue, a little patience, they start to hold together. Maybe that's what integration really looks like. Not perfect balance, not permanent calm, but coexistence. Different parts, different needs, learning to rest on the same page. This folded journaling card here is small, but it feels like a threshold for me. A little door between what was and what can be next. I could fill it with words or I leave it completely blank. Either way, it feels like it's doing its job, holding what doesn't yet have language fully formed. That's what I love about these tucked away pockets. They remind me that healing isn't always about expressing something. Sometimes it's about containment, about giving something a safe place to wait until it's ready to be seen. Inside this one, maybe I will write about this sterile hospital lights, or how I felt waiting there for hours, or the gratitude that came when I saw my daughter's pain being eased. Maybe I will just slip in the 2 wristbands my daughter and I got in the hospital with our names on them. Something ordinary that nevertheless somehow carries the weight of these memories. For me, it's comforting to know that not everything needs to be resolved to be included. This little pocket doesn't demand closure. It just holds space. That's what my junk journal planner has become, a living map of emotions and moments that don't always fit into neat categories. It's both a structure and a sanctuary for me, a place where planning my days and weeks meets presence, my present moments, where memory and meaning overlap, and just like the layers of paper I'm gluing here together with little bits and pieces of previous crafting projects, everything finds a space. Every pace reflects a version of me. The grounded one, the distressed one, the quietly healing one. Together, they tell the truth of where I've been. Adding all those pieces to my page, I feel that tiny inner shift. Like an exhale I didn't realize I'd been holding. It's not dramatic, it's just a return, a quiet reunion between my body, my mind, and the parts of me that got left behind during the busyness of worrying and caretaking. Sometimes I think healing isn't about finding answers, but about finding form, like giving shape to the invisible through our hands, through our crafts. Here, a folded card becomes a promise, a tuck spot becomes a boundary, and a page becomes a home for all of my feelings and my parts. And somewhere in between the folds, the glue and the soft paper fibers, I start to feel myself again, steady, grounded, just here. This is what reconnection looks like for me. Not big, not polished, but just quietly alive. This page isn't fancy. It's quiet and built from scraps, patience, and a little courage to show up again. When I look at it now, I see evidence that creativity waits for us. It never scolds or rushes. It just sits nearby until we are ready to touch it again. There's something humbling about realizing that the world doesn't fall apart when we stop. Our to-do lists may grow, our inboxes may fill, but our creative life, that tender pulse of meaning, keeps beating underneath. It doesn't vanish, it simply rests with us. This morning, as I added the last leaf and tucked in this journaling card, I felt a softness I hadn't noticed all week. My shoulders dropped, my breath lengthened, and I could almost hear that inner voice, the one that was frantic a few days ago, finally whispering, "It's okay, we are safe." As a therapist, I often see how people measure healing by speed or productivity, but in truth, our systems repair themselves best in gentleness. When we allow rest, we invite integration. When we let softness in, our edges begin to knit together. And art, especially this kind of slow, tactile making, gives that gentleness a body. It makes it visible. So when I see this page, I don't see perfection, I see conversation between my tired part and my creative ones, between fear and trust, between what hurts and what begins to mend. And speaking about gentle returns, next week I'll be doing something that feels like its own kind of homecoming. On Monday, November the 3rd at 9 a.m. New Zealand time, that's Sunday, November the 2nd in the US and Europe, I'll host my first ever live stream. We will gather those of you who have been following the October prompts and anyone new who simply wants a peaceful hour of creating to build the October collage of rest, the cover page for our October signature. You can collage alongside me or just listen, sip something warm and let the rhythm of paper and conversation settle your system. It's not a performance, it's a shared pause. I think it will be a beautiful moment to sit together across time zones and see how 30 tiny acts of nothing can become one whole piece of art. A collage of rest, community, and care.